Again this morning overseas, Donald Trump says he will block the Strait of Hormuz after peace talks with Iran broke down without a deal. The US president says he wants everything and won't take anything less.
Let's go live to Mimi Becker in London with more for us this morning. Mimi, hopes of a ceasefire are quickly fading.
Good morning, Sarah. President Trump says that he will block the Strait of Hormuz and has warned Iranians that they will be blown to hell. These comments come after negotiations between Iran and the US broke down in Pakistan after 21 hours of marathon talks. President Trump has also said that other countries will be involved in blocking that key shipping channel. The United States says that Iran has failed to give up their nuclear ambitions, while Iran says that the United States failed to gain the trust of the Iranian delegation. President Trump is adamant, though, that negotiations are somehow still possible.
They haven't left the bargaining table. I predict they come back and they give us everything we want. And I told my people, I want everything. I don't want 90%. I don't want 95%. I told them, I want everything.
One of the key sticking points for Iran is Israel's continued attacks against Lebanon, and we have seen Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu across the border from Israel into southern Lebanon, into territory that they are now holding, while the Lebanese Health Ministry says the death toll there continues to rise and is now at more than 2,000 people killed.
Quite the toll, isn't it, Mimi? Thank you. Welcome back. Well, President Donald Trump is this morning vowing to block the Strait of Hormuz after US-Iran negotiations reached a dead end.
For more, we're joined by former US Marines intelligence officer Hal Kempfer. Hal, good morning to you. Thanks for your time. Look, how difficult is that a prospect to blockade the Strait of Hormuz?
Well, Carl, it's going to be a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of assets, probably about a dozen destroyers and frigates, probably in and around the Strait of Hormuz, providing escorts and basically dealing with drones, anti-ship missiles, and the potentiality of sea drones as well, along with small boats. But the big thing is the minesweepers, and apparently we've got a couple of minesweepers in there. The British are going to bring minesweepers in there. There's a good chance other countries, maybe Japan, may add some minesweepers. And we got 2 destroyers through the Strait of Hormuz, so we've already proven that it can be done.
I mean, it is dangerous work, though, I guess, Hal, isn't it? How confident are we, or is the Western world, that Iran won't have weapons that can retaliate in this instance?
Well, Iran does have some weapons to retaliate. Now, one of the big things is Pentagon just announced that 90% or more of the sea mines that Iran has are gone. So they had about 5,000, so now we're less than 500. That numerically helps a lot in terms of mine sweeping. Also, all their primary mine-laying ships have been destroyed, so now they're having to rely on small boats, maybe midget submarines. That really limits their ability to put out mines in any great quantity. So, you know, it's one of those things where, yes, there's a concern, but there's also an opportunity here to militarily open up the strait, even if we can't get Iran to agree to anything.
So the US president over the weekend has pinpointed Australia a couple of times. What would we be called upon, and how effective would our influence be in the area? In what capacity do you think effectively?
Well, Australia, you know, Australian Navy, and Australia has other forces that could be actually brought in to do a lot of things. I can think of a number of things. I have served in the Persian Gulf with Australians before, and I can think of a lot of capabilities that Australia brings, particularly in the intelligence and special operations realm, but also things that they can do in the maritime domain. Just an outstanding Navy, very professional, has some unique assets or combatants that they can bring to bear. And I think certainly Australia has a vested interest in keeping the strait open.
Hal, the other issue we're facing as well is, of course, this breakdown in negotiations, right? 21 hours, Vice President J.D. Vance deployed there, and in that press conference saying that basically Iran is not willing to give up its nuclear ambitions, which was the main sticking point. So where do we go from here? Is there any hope of returning to the negotiating table?
Well, Sarah, I think there is. I think what we're doing right now is setting the framework, if you will, the foundation for what that next discussion might look like. If we can get the Strait of Hormuz open, if we can get lanes going each way and get ships to go through those lanes and start getting significant movement, not that small movement, but significant movement, that'll make a big difference. That takes a huge, pardon the expression, trump card away from the Iranians in terms of what they can negotiate, what leverage they have. And hopefully the next negotiations will be more fruitful.
Watch this space, but perhaps don't hold your breath. All right, Hal, thanks
Good
so
on
much
you,
for
Hal.
joining us. Appreciate it.